This female spy was both beautiful and highly skilled. She was linked to a tragic event involving 115 people. Her case attracted international attention. She was eventually granted a presidential pardon and went on to live a quiet life. Her story is more intriguing than a movie. In 1987, a significant event occurred. A Korean air flight disappeared while flying to Bangkok. After an investigation, it was revealed that the incident was tied to a complex situation involving two countries. The person behind it all was ultimately left behind. Her background became a mystery. So, what happened to the plane? What secrets did this female spy hold? Let's look back at the events of 1987.
If you want ordinary, look elsewhere. Welcome to TC Channel, where other channels fall short, unique mysteries solved step by step.
Although this incident happened abroad, it had deep ties to Korea. In 1988, Korea won the bid to host the 24th Summer Olympics. The Olympics isn't just a symbol of national pride, it also has a major impact on a country's economy and culture. While many countries today are cautious about hosting the games, back then, everyone was eager to win the chance. The 24th Summer Olympics were scheduled from September 17th to October 2nd, 1988, in Seoul, Korea's capital. Athletes and visitors from around the world were expected to come. Korea was busy preparing for the event, but just as the country was getting ready for the Olympics, a complex situation was quietly unfolding. Korean Air, one of the largest airlines in Asia, was founded in 1969, with flights to destinations worldwide. On November 29, 1987, Korean Air Flight 858 took off from Iraq. Its destination, Seoul. It made stops in Abu Dhabi and Bangkok. It landed safely in Abu Dhabi, where 15 passengers got off to rest. Then the flight continued on to Bangkok. There were 104 passengers and 11 crew members on board, except for one Western passenger. All the others were Korean. Most of them were just ordinary workers. But these 115 people would never make it to their destination. The plane was flying over the Andaman Sea around 2 p.m. Then it suddenly lost contact. Before vanishing from radar, it had already entered Myanmar's airspace. The captain had reported to air traffic control that the plane was at 37,000 feet and everything was normal. It was expected to arrive in Bangkok on time. But soon after, the plane's signal completely disappeared. Around 220 kilometers south of Yangon, the airport in Bangkok was waiting for the plane. But when it didn't arrive, they immediately alerted Korea. At first, Korea didn't realize how serious the situation was. They assumed the plane had experienced a mechanical issue and might have made an emergency landing near Myanmar. After the plane's signal disappeared over Myanmar, authorities in Thailand and Myanmar began searching for it. South Korea thought a malfunction might have caused the disappearance, which wasn't out of the question. Flight 858 was a Boeing 707, a U.S. jet that had been in service for 16 years. It had experienced several issues in the past. The most recent one was 2 months earlier, when the plane's landing gear failed during a landing at Gimpo Airport. This forced the plane to land belly first, which caused significant damage, but it was fixed and returned to service. If the crash was due to another malfunction, finding the wreckage would be even harder. Based on the flight path, the plane could have crashed in the forests, seas, or islands near Myanmar, making the search area huge. Rescue teams sent helicopters, but they found no sign of the plane. At this point, some began to think the plane might not have malfunctioned at all. If it had, the crew would have had time to send a distress signal, but there was no communication before it disappeared. Later, South Korea told the media that they suspected the plane may have been hijacked, since this had happened before. Back in 1969, a Korean air flight was hijacked by North Korean agents. However, there was no solid evidence at this point, so South Korea continued searching in the potential crash areas. As the search went on, new clues started to surface. It was discovered that the plane had stopped briefly in Abu Dhabi, and 15 passengers had gotten off there. Could one of these passengers have tampered with the plane before leaving? At the time, tensions between North and South Korea were high, so people wondered if a North Korean spy might have been involved. Then, Paris police provided an important lead. A father and daughter got off the plane in Abu Dhabi. A father, 69-year-old Shinichi Fukutani, and his 27-year-old daughter, Mayumi Fukutani, both holding Japanese passports. Their travel route raised suspicion. They had flown from Baghdad to Abu Dhabi, but after leaving Abu Dhabi, they flew straight to Bahrain, then bought tickets for Rome. Bahrain airport police, being cautious, temporarily seized their passports and checked with the Japanese embassy in Bahrain. It turned out the passports were fake. Shinichi and Mayumi Fukutani were real people, but they had never left Japan. This discovery made things more complicated. South Korea quickly sent investigators to Paris, where they found the two women at a hotel. However, due to a lack of evidence, and the case being in a foreign country, they didn't find anything useful, just some basic information. Before leaving, the South Korean police said they'd return the next day to continue the investigation. After they were under suspicion in Paris, the father and daughter checked out of their hotel early the next morning and took a taxi to the airport, planning to leave. However, staff from the Japanese embassy were already there and informed them that Fukutani Mayumi's ticket was invalid and that she needed to be questioned further. As a result, the father and daughter were taken into custody by airport police. No unusual items were found in their luggage during the search. During questioning, they asked if they could smoke and took out some cigarettes. This common request didn't raise any concerns with the investigators. But when they lit the cigarettes, something unexpected happened. Fukutani Shinichi bit the cigarette filter and suddenly collapsed, losing consciousness. Fukutani Mayumi reacted too slowly, and the police quickly realized something was wrong. They swiftly removed the cigarette from her mouth, but it was too late, and Fukutani Mayumi also collapsed. It appeared that both had experienced a severe reaction. The police rushed them to the hospital, but despite efforts, Fukutani Shinichi passed away. Fukutani Mayumi, however, was revived with immediate medical intervention. The Korean police were suspicious, but there was no concrete evidence linking them to the disappearance of Flight 858. Still, their actions raised more questions. Investigators were puzzled as to why they would go to such extreme lengths. When Fukutani Mayumi regained consciousness, the police believed she might know something important, so they placed her under 24-hour surveillance for her safety. A few days later, when she was able to speak, she was brought in for questioning. At first, she refused to speak, but eventually, she revealed her true identity. She said in fluent Chinese, "I'm actually Chinese, born on January 27, 1964, named by Huizue, from Wuchang, Heilongjiang Province, China." She explained that she had been an orphan, that her parents had passed away when she was young, and that she was raised by her grandmother. Later, she moved to Macau, where she met a Japanese man named Fukutani Shinichi, who treated her well and adopted her. She then moved to Japan with him, and changed her name to Fukutani Mayumi. She told the police that this trip was just a vacation with her adopted father, and denied any involvement in the disappearance of Flight 858. But the police were not convinced, as there were too many inconsistencies. To assist with the investigation, the Bahrain police enlisted a British woman, Camila, who was familiar with China. Camila, fluent in Cantonese, helped uncover more contradictions in Fukutani Mayumi's story. For example, she said she was from Wuchang, but Wuchang didn't become a city until 1993. She also couldn't answer questions about her hometown. Furthermore, although she spoke perfect Cantonese, she claimed to have forgotten how to speak her native dialect. This raised further suspicions, and the police felt she wasn't being truthful. Despite extensive questioning by the Bahrain police, they couldn't get any useful answers, so they decided to transfer her to the South Korean authorities for further investigation. On December 15, 1987, Fongguzen Yumi was escorted by plane to Korea's Gimpo Airport. For safety reasons, the Korean authorities arranged a special flight for her. Upon arrival, she was carefully monitored by security. Soon, she became the focus of media attention in Korea. People were puzzled, as her appearance seemed to contrast with the case she was involved in. She was then taken to a facility outside of Seoul for further questioning. Although she didn't speak Korean, the authorities became suspicious. They wondered if she was pretending not to understand. The police conducted a few checks to observe her reactions. For example, they casually discussed her posture, watching how she responded. She made subtle adjustments, appearing to attempt hiding her true feelings. Eventually, the authorities asked her about familiar brands, and she quickly named one specific brand, which was known to be associated with a particular region. This strengthened their belief in her identity, but she continued to deny everything. Lacking solid evidence, the investigators decided to change their approach, offering her more freedom. She was allowed to walk around Seoul and observe her reactions. As she explored the busy streets, her previous views began to shift. On December 23, 1987, Fongguzen Yumi eventually admitted to her involvement. Her real name was Kim Hyun-hee, and her partner's name was Lee Sher-won. They were indeed part of a covert operation, which led to the incident involving Korean Air Flight 858. They had planted a timed device on the plane, which caused it to crash. Search teams later found wreckage in the ocean. On January 15, 1988, Korea held a public press conference, where the results of the investigation were revealed. It was confirmed that the device caused the crash, which led to the loss of 115 lives. Fong Guzanyumi, now known as Kim Hyun-hee, admitted her role during the press conference. She also expressed regret to the reporters and the families of the victims. The news stunned everyone, as it became clear that the crash was not an accident, but part of a carefully planned operation. The investigation results released by South Korea attracted widespread attention internationally. North Korea completely denied any involvement in the incident. Some raised concerns that the situation could have been influenced by actions within South Korea. However, the way South Korea handled the investigation led to some concerns regarding its thoroughness. For instance, although the black box can send signals, South Korea's search operation was halted after a short period. Later, it was discovered that the water depth where some of the wreckage was found was much shallower than expected. Moreover, South Korea did not use specialized equipment to detect the black box. When other countries found wreckage from the flight, South Korea appeared not to show much interest, which led to discussions about whether there was a full commitment to uncovering the truth. The timing of the events also drew attention and raised further discussion. The day after Kim Hyun-hee was brought back to South Korea, December 16, 1987, coincidentally, it was also the day of South Korea's presidential election. With the two events so closely linked, some speculated that the timing might be more than coincidental. On March 9, 1989, Kim Hyun-hee's trial began. On March 27, South Korea announced that she had been sentenced in connection with the incident. Although the verdict was delivered, the date of execution was not set. On April 12, 1990, President Roh Tae-woo granted Kim Hyun-hee a pardon. The official explanation was that she was a victim in the incident, not the mastermind. However, the true reason behind the pardon was that Kim Hyun-hee held crucial information about the event, and was the only person who could reveal the truth. Kim Hyun-hee was born on January 27, 1962. Her family was relatively well off. Her father was a diplomat, and her mother was a teacher. Due to her father's work, she spent 5 years living in Cuba. Later, she returned to Pyongyang to continue her studies. She enrolled at Pyongyang Foreign Languages University, where she received specialized training for espionage. Eventually, she became a fully qualified agent. In July 1984, Kim Hyun-hee began her assignments, partnering with a seasoned agent disguised as a father and daughter. Her final mission involved an incident related to aviation. After her release, Kim Hyun-hee wrote several memoirs documenting the events. These books became bestsellers in both South Korea and Japan, and were adapted into a film. As a result, she earned royalties from these works. In December 1997, Kim Hyun-hee secretly married in South Korea, and had 2 children, leading a quiet family life. In 2009, Kim Hyun-hee stepped into the spotlight for the first time. In April that year, at Japan's request, she had a secret meeting with high-ranking officials in Seoul. Later, she traveled to Japan for a 4-day visit. In January 2013, Kim appeared on a South Korean MBC TV program. The show aimed to address doubts about whether she was really behind the bombing of Flight 858. She said she felt she deserved the death penalty for what she did, but survived because she was the only one who could tell the full story. Her role as the sole witness became crucial to uncovering the truth. As Kim reflected, she recalled the busy streets of Seoul, and how the city's energy deeply moved her. She realized that the vibrant city was now a place where 115 innocent lives should have been. It made her question if the bombing had been justified, given the cost of those lives. In the end, Kim took responsibility for her actions and confessed. Except for the late agent Kim Sun-il, no one else has been held accountable for the tragedy. This story forces us to reflect, not just on Kim's actions, but on the real consequences of violence and war. Every decision we make, personally or globally, has the potential to harm others. We must remember that violence and hate only breed more chaos, while peace and understanding are the keys to healing and reconciliation. That's the story of the Korean Air Flight 858 tragedy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll bring you more in the next episode.